I am delighted to welcome all of you to this seminar on driving industrial transportation of Sri Lanka through improved railway system, organized by the Supply Chain, Transport and Logistics Committee of the Organization of Professional Associations of Sri Lanka. This topic is especially relevant to Sri Lanka as logistics is already a significant sector of our economy. Moreover, it has been identified by the government as being one of the key industries that has the potential to attract foreign direct investments. Consequently, the development of this sector will play an important role in our journey to economic sustainability. Sri Lanka's robust logistics sector can be attributed to our geographical location and infrastructure, which includes several international airports and harbors, as well as comprehensive road and railway networks. We have a number of local and international logistics companies operating in Sri Lanka, providing direct and indirect employment to thousands of workers. In addition, our exporters depend on the logistics industry to transport their goods safely, efficiently, and cost effectively. Despite the importance of the sector, increased demand has led to significant congestions, leading to bottlenecks and costly delays in the transports of goods. This has been cited as one of the factors hampering not only the logistics sector, but also the overall performance of many of our industries. Given Sri Lanka's ambitions to become a multi-modal logistics hub, it is essential that solutions are found to improve the efficiency of our transport infrastructure. Our railway network can undoubtedly play a pivotal role in improving the sector, as we already have a railway system convening most of the country. Railways provide a faster and more affordable alternative to other forms of transport. As such, they provide an excellent alternative to our roads, which are often congested and inefficient. In comparison to other countries, however, our railways can be further improved. It is essential that we look at modernizing and upgrade our railway network in order to maximize its contribution to industrial transportation and the country's economic progress. Today, we have two eminent guest speakers who are experts in their respective fields and who will be able to provide greater insights into this important issue. I am pleased to welcome Mr. Dhammika Jayasundara, General Manager of the Sri Lanka Railway Department, and Engineer Dr. T. Sivakumar, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Engineering, University of Moratuwa. Thank you for being with us this evening and allowing us to benefit from your knowledge and perspectives. I would also like to welcome our moderator for this event, Chairman of the Supply Chain, Transport and Logistics Committee and past President of ISMM, Mr. I.G. Perera. The seminar will be followed by a question and answer session where you will have the opportunity to ask questions from our speakers. I know you must be eager to hear from our speakers too. So without taking any more of your time, let me now hand over proceedings to our moderator, Mr. I.G. Perera, who is the past president of ISMM and well-known lecturer and trainer in the area of supply chain management. I am sure you will all have an informative and enriching seminar. Thank you.
The President and the General Secretary of OPA, two eminent resource persons, Mr. Jayasundara and Dr. T. Sivakumar, past presidents of OPA and executive council members, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you are traveling or travel by railway department, railway? How many of you? Maybe one or two. Okay, if you are given a reliable, comfortable service on the dot reaching destinations, how many of you will be traveling? How many of you would like to travel by train? So many hands going up. And at the moment, how your cargo, your container is transported from the port and to and fro to your organizations? I believe 100% it will be by road. So this is the state we are in today. So the CGR initiated by the Britishers in 1858 and commenced operations in 1864. 4 main lines, Putlam line, main line, KV line and the coastal line. Also today we have got 1,611 kilometers, 91% of single, percentage is single. 345 stations, 182 main and 163 sub. Generally, on average, 126,900 train trips are done in a year, 11.2 million kilometers, 138 million passengers on average, but only 5.5% annual growth. Railway was run profitably till 1940. In the case of percentage of loss to earnings, in 2018, loss to earnings 94%, as per the research data. The main reasons identified for these losses: diminishing market share, not revising fare actually, and cost of fuel, OTs, salaries and OTs, excessive OTs in certain sectors. Also, pilferage, corruption, inefficiencies and poor maintenance contributing to these losses. Mainly passenger transportation. When you compare with developed countries, the mode of railway, the transportation mode, the railway mode of transportation is the main mode of transportation actually. Industrial sector, currently about 2 million weight tons are done by the railway, but it is only 2% of the total. This is where we are focusing today. How best we can improve railway services in the industrial sectors mainly to transport cargo. We would like to have, although we have Koggala Free Trade Zone running railway line inside the zone, Katunayaka Free Trade Zone running in the border railway line, Sitawaka about 1 kilometer away, but not a single container moves on the railway line. Can we improve these situations and remove containers from the roads? We have two eminent people here to discuss. I would like to invite first the General Manager Railway, Mr. Jayasundara, the General Manager of Railway Department, an eminent speaker, an engineer by profession. So Director, Technical Ministry of Transport for 2 years, former experience, Chief Engineer Signalling at Railway Department for 7 years, fellow member of IESL, and Masters in Public Administration from University of Sri Lanka and BSc Honours in Electrical Engineering from University of Moratuwa. Mr. Jayasundara, you are kindly invited to the podium.
Do this presentation, and I think I'll try my best to do some justification for your expectation and give me this opportunity. I think when we talk about railway business, we need to understand the basics. Railway came to Sri Lanka in 1864 with a stretch of 54 kilometer railway track. Railway came to Sri Lanka because of freight. I think in UK, it was 1832, they constructed the first passenger railway line. So within another 30 years, railway came to Sri Lanka. So when railway came to Sri Lanka, they got a kind of a monopoly. Wherever railway lines expanded, wherever they established a railway station, townships got developed. That's because railway got a competitive advantage. No other mode of transportation available at that time compete. At that time, railway was competing with bullock carts. You must have seen pictures of bullock carts stopped at Haputale Pass, resting for the next day. So when those means of transportation brought produce from plantations from Kandy, it took few days. So when railway came, it's an instant monopoly. But until Second World War, that monopoly was kept with regulations and lack of road transportation opportunities. There were regulations to prevent road transportation wherever railway is serving. But after 1940, road network started developing, private vehicle ownership became very popular, so therefore railway start facing competition. So that situation is not only in Sri Lanka, even in UK. After Second World War, UK government took over then private railway network into their hand. But by 1950s-60s, it was making huge loss. Then we must have heard about Beeching Acts. They got a new chairman for the Board of Railway, and they went through the performance and reduced 12,000 kilometers of railway tracks and 2,000 or 3,000 railway stations. That's the reality. When railway is no longer monopoly, we cannot expect that kind of market share. Yeah, today railway is not performing well. There are a lot of areas we can talk about efficiency or I think productivity, but still there are fundamental facts we need to understand. That is, the world has changed. Railway no longer got a monopoly. So even I think if you consider Japan, I think before Second World War, in preparation for the Second World War, Japanese government took over their railway. But when in 1960s and 70s, 80s, it started making huge losses. So they have to privatize it again. So process is still going on, maybe now completed. So railway, earlier railway, when they got a monopoly and current performance, we need to be considered with necessary facts. And also railways for mass transportation. I am getting lot of requests for having a train to replace a bus. So we call it baby train, where train is only carrying 2 carriages, engine is only carrying 2 carriages. Maybe 100 people traveling by it, but if you see the fuel consumption, train engine consumes around 4 liters, so maybe 3 liters of diesel. But if you consider a bus, with 1 liter of diesel, it goes for 3.5 kilometers, or maybe 3 kilometers. So whenever train is not carrying sufficient passengers for 10 buses, that's an environmental disaster and also economical loss. So therefore we need to understand the situation, because so I think it's a simple picture. Please remember it. Railway is for mass transportation. Even in goods transportation, if you are carrying just 2 containers, it's much better if you carry by road. Only if there's a huge demand where you can ensure carriage of maybe 12 wagons, 14 wagons, 15 wagons, then only become viable and environmentally friendly. Also, when we run trains, there's something called line capacity. There's earlier I think earlier gentlemen talk about we are having single line tracks, single line tracks. So that's a constraint. So when we got two stations, maybe A, B, C, D, like that, if the train is going from A to D, we got three sections. One section, it takes 10 minutes. Next section, 20 minutes. Third section, maybe 15 minutes. So if the train is going from A to D, we can run trains every 20 minutes. So this BC section is the bottleneck. So there are constraints like that. So when we run trains small size, still they take over whole section in a single line. Maybe in the same direction we can have signaling, block signaling, and break it to 3-minute sections. You can carry more trains, but still if the train is coming from opposite side, the constraint is there 20 minutes. So we have to be very selfish. When you put trains to our tracks, we have to be very, very selfish to make sure it's efficient usage. I think even if you see the small one, the small train, the baby train there, it is, if you put onto a track, it will take 20 minutes and it will stop train carrying 2,000 people for 20 minutes before it give that section for the bigger train. So therefore that's a fact I think we need to consider when we plan freight or passenger transportation by railway. I think this slide I thought about not putting it here, but I think we need to discuss this. I am ready for your questions. The thing is, usually it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. When usually in Sri Lanka, I understood it, almost every people love railway. So they find fault with us because we are not running railway up to the level they expect. So they got their own theories and hypotheses. This is the way railway should be run. So without knowing necessary facts. So that can be applied to Dunning-Kruger effect. So I think there are some situations I have faced. There's a goodwill is there, but lack of knowledge is creating unnecessary friction sometimes. So as I mentioned earlier, the railway is no longer monopoly. So we need to compete. Okay, earlier we won that war of the competition with bullock carts, but today we have lost that war. So therefore, earlier I think our freight transportation maybe in 1960s, somewhere around 30s and 40s. Now we have gone down to 2%. In passenger transportation, we have come down to 5 from earlier I think 30s, 40s and in 1960s. We need to consider two facts. One thing is competition. Other thing is the market size. When the market size becomes bigger, our contribution or share becomes smaller. That doesn't mean service provided by railway has diminished. So because we have to consider that scenario also. But due to this number of vehicles coming onto our roads, creating congestion, today railway got opportunity. That's serving suburban areas, Colombo, maybe Kandy. So we are trying our best to introduce new trains. For example, from Kaluthara to Colombo, or Vayanga to Colombo, or Nigambu to Colombo. And also from Paduka to Colombo, those are the sectors we got most demand from passengers. But unfortunately, our rolling stock is kind of a relics. Some of them 70 years old, some are 50 years old. There are a few new ones also. So therefore, we have to manage with all those old rolling stock. So expected reliability we are getting from them is not sufficient. If you consider USA, I think after 40 years, they cut those locomotives into pieces for metal and remove generators for other purposes. In our country, we are using them 70 years, still using, maybe for next 30 years, they will reach 100. But with that age, okay, we are utilizing them, we are maybe environmentally friendly in that manner, but unfortunately, reliability is not there. Even if you consider our own car, usually after 5 years, we want to change it. That's because we want to ensure the reliability. So in the railway sector also, in order to ensure the reliability, we need to replace those aging rolling stock, especially the locomotives. So that's the area I think due to this financial constraint, we are not in a position to proceed faster. Hopefully we will get some investment, then we can move on and provide a better and reliable service. Also during this last, I think we got a financial crisis, we got a struggle, and we got so many changes. during that time, due to the government financial constraint, railway was not in a position to start any line of credit. So many of our import items for locomotive maintenance got stuck, and only recently they start coming in. So due to that aspect, many of the trains, they couldn't get serviced properly and they are not in a reliable condition. So that's a kind of a constraint we are facing today. So with all those constraints, railway is trying to get back into freight transportation. Currently we got an agreement with Prima. We are running one train with containers. Someone said, nice to see some trains carrying containers. Yes, we are running daily train from Siduwa to Trinco, China Bay. So it's carrying, I think, 20 ton, 24 20-ton containers and bringing back empties. And currently we are discussing with them whether we can have another train carrying their products from Colombo to Jaffna. Hopefully we can start it. Also another discussion going on about having a freight train coming from Beliatta to Colombo to connect Hambantota Harbour. Hopefully those will materialize. Then maybe you can see more freight trains on our roads, and maybe we can increase our percentage from current 2% to little bit more. And also we earlier talked about freight transportation. Railway was built for freight transportation based on demand from the planters, British planters. So at that time, railway was built to carry products from plantation to Colombo Harbour and get imported products out of Colombo Harbour into those outer areas. But unfortunately, this is a situation at port today. This is a Trinco port. The connectivity has been removed 30 years back. Similar situation in Colombo port. The tracks only going to Bandaranaike Pier, but also not much in use. It's a curved one, and none of the terminals are being served by railway network. So we need to get that connectivity first. Then we can talk about having more freight transported by railway. But I think there are some talk about the industrial, how we can do the industrial transportation as well as how to support industries in Sri Lanka. But there are opportunities in railway for local industries. One thing is track making. The Sri Lanka, we got companies who are making expressways and highways, very good at that. Railway track engineering is much more simpler. So I think if we can open our track construction to local companies, definitely they can get the know-how, and even they can go to the foreign markets and do this kind of a project. I think the simplicity of railway track making is an advantage where we can use and make local companies capable of doing this kind of projects. As I mentioned earlier, one thing is port connectivity. We need to reconnect railway lines back into our ports. And then we can talk about dry ports. Dry port is a concept where you can take containers out of the port to remove the congestion there, and you have a different, further away place where much convenient for truckers to take it to their destinations and do the processing there. If we can have that kind of arrangement, there's a talk about, I think, Vayangod and some other places. If we can have that kind of arrangement, definitely railway can serve that kind of a connectivity and serve the development of a economy. I think today, even though we are not doing much freight, we got a lot of, demand for this tourism-based, from the tourist industry especially for Colombo Ella section traveling. For that purpose, I think we have introduced so many trains. They have been very much popular and also profitable. And profitable, I think that's an area also I think we can help the tourism industry. And also we got these coaches, after their usage, they put back, they are sold for scrap metal. I think they can be converted to restaurants. Currently we are doing a project in railway, and we are going to put those at LI station for tourist attraction, some hotel rooms and restaurants. So that's also area I think railway can help tourism industry and promote local tourism. In earlier slides, I have given you facts based on my knowledge and experience. So we are in 2025, we are in a situation where railway is trying to attract more freight into the railway and also to improve the passenger transportation facilities in Colombo and suburban areas. So therefore, even though earlier railway got a monopoly and many people came to railway, we no longer have a monopoly today currently, but we got a competitive advantage in certain areas. Like due to the road congestion, we can go for special services for passengers in urban areas, and also we can try to attract freight back into the railway. But when we consider the freight transportation, if you consider railway, there's also going to be double handling, because we got a limited track area of 1,450 or something like that straight railway lines. So they are not serving throughout the country. So if someone want to use railway, they are not adjacent to the railway tracks, or they are not having a railway siding, they have to bring their freight to the railway point using road transportation and carry it through the railway network, and at the other end they have to use their own road transportation means. So that means double handling. So double handling is preventing freight forwarders coming to railway. So we need to find a solution for that kind of constraints. Maybe a dry port can be a good solution where we can create demand for railway freight transportation. Thank you. Have I used my minutes?
Very much, Mr. Jayasundara. You ended up with a very interesting point, dry port operations. Our neighbor India has several dry ports. In Europe, there are so many dry ports. If we had a dry port operation currently at this moment, actually, definitely we wouldn't have this current congestion at the port. That could have been a very good solution. The problem is very good concept. When are we putting into practice? So that is the question. Very good concepts. Anyway, our next speaker will be Dr. Sivakumar, a senior lecturer and the former head of Department of Transport Management and Logistics Engineering Faculty of Engineering, University of Sri Lanka, University of Moratuwa. He holds a BSc Honors Engineering degree in Civil Engineering from the University of Perera and a Master of Engineering degree in Transportation Engineering from Asian Institute of Technology. He holds a Doctor of Engineering degree in Transportation Engineering from Yokohama National University, Japan. And he is the founding secretary and immediate past president of Sri Lanka Society of Transport and Logistics, STL. Lot of qualifications, lot of involvements. His teaching and research interests are public transportation, road and rail both, transport modeling, optimization transport survey, active mobility and road safety, and he has been involved in several consultancy projects for Road Development Authority, Ministry of Transport, JICA, World Bank, etc. Dr. Sivakumar, invitation.
Very good evening to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity given, and thank you everybody, organizing committee and OPA members and the audience here. Let me, our GMR has already put the foundation for what is the problem and how better we were, and then where are we now. So probably there may be some overlap, but still let me take through starting from my area of focus where I'm working in the public transport and passenger transport areas. So let me start from there. What you are seeing here is the passenger share of the different modes of transport. This maroon color one is, let me start from rail. This green color one is the railway transport, and then the blue one is the bus transport. Both we put it under the public transport domain, and then private vehicle in the maroon color. So you can see what is the situation there, the trend in all these different modes of transport. The railway is going in their own trend with very slow progress, but then bus was much better somewhere around 70s, and then it's still doing good. But then the maroon color one, that is the private vehicle model share, is growing very fast and alarming both the bus and the rail. So if we don't do anything towards this trend, if we don't reverse this one, we are going to face a major problem. So that's why people are started talking about public transport and both bus and rail. So today here we are talking about train, how train could. Again, let me put another couple of slides on the same. Let me start from the land transport. Our road network is full of congestion. Everybody is enjoying that, and everybody is blaming that, whether we like it or not. So the traffic congestion is because of very high volume or a demand is there to use the road, but we have a limited capacity in the road sector. And then not only the demand and the supply, but also the mixture of the vehicle. There are very small vehicles, medium vehicle, and the large vehicle, and the container movements. Every different modes of transport, including some informal modes of transport, are on the same road. Then adding up to some other factors, indiscipline driving, particularly the lane discipline is not there, and the gap maintenance is not there. So all these are adding to the congestion much adversely. And then land use, also the bottlenecks in some sections. And all these create the traffic congestion, and due to the traffic congestion, we suffer from air pollution, noise, time and energy waste, and urban sprawl. People are moving away from the urban areas, which create another different problem, and also traffic accident, and finally the mental stress. So in transport domain, this congestion is a hot topic, and how to get rid of the congestion. So let me highlight this demand and supply, this traffic volume, how many people wanted to use the road, and what is the road capacity we are providing. So this volume and the capacity is the key factors in determining this traffic congestion. So the key point is the volume and the capacity. If the volume is increasing above the capacity, we can say the congestion starts. And when the volume goes up and up, then the worst scenario grows there. So this B and C is the key. So let's see what the traditional approach we had so far is. When there is a more number of people wanted to use the road, we build more roads because we want to increase the capacity. Not to blame RDA or anybody, but then that's the easiest controllable approach. Let me take a simple example, like I think it's from Korean example. 1977, there was a congestion was measured, and then what they have done is, okay, they decided to build a new roads or additional road, and then in a 1 year time they have expanded the lane and they have increased the capacity. So what happens? Immediately there is a relief in congestion. People were a little happy. But then 10 years later, what has happened is when the congestion is released, actually the roads are inducing more people to use that road. So in 10 years later, what has happened is you can see the black color dot block, which grown much faster than what was in the 10 year before. So that's mean this additional number of traffic has been induced because of the new addition of the road. So that's why professionals are looked at as a scenario. When you build more roads, it's a short-term solution, but long-term is going to be a problem, right? So what to do then? In developed countries, because of the affordability, because of the land availability, they have gone for this kind of infrastructure, which is 4 levels of different roads. There is no crossing, wonderful. There is no delay in the intersection, but it's very costly and very ugly for the urban setting. Again, in Seoul, 1970, there was a river was closed and increased the capacity. So on your left hand side, you can see there was a river, and the river was closed with the concrete slab, and they have put up a elevated roadway there. And then same scenario, this traffic congestion was much worse than the previously. Then the government has decided almost 30 years later, they decided it's not going to work. They have removed the structure and they have reopened the canal again, and they have created a nice both banks to open to the publics to use as a leisure area. In most metropolitan cities in developing countries, the government has emphasized on road projects than the projects that supports the public transport and pedestrian access. Not only Sri Lanka, many cities has gone in the same path because it's very easy. Okay, still I am on the roadside. Let me take, if there is a typical road space, and do you see anything wrong here? Probably not. There are certain vehicles on the roads. And when we look into the detail, most of the vehicles are occupied by the drivers, single user, and still we don't see any problem. It's a German professor who actually did this experiment on his own road, and he has collected the reflection of what the people are saying about it. And as obviously we also should have been said the same, right? Everybody said that he is crazy. But he is using the same space as I am using, but I am in the car, right? We don't see the problem when we are in the machine or we are in the car, but we are the culprits for the congestion. Each and every one of us, when every car is added to the road, we become the culprit for the congestion. But we try to blame the others. Why so much traffic is there, right? So what is matter then? The matter is the vehicle occupancy is matter. So if you take a typical car, on average it may be 1.2 passengers, and if you take a bus, maybe more than 45 passengers, and if you take a train, it's maybe more than 500 or 600, even sometimes more than 1,000 passengers. So you can see, obviously, the mode of transport who carries more passengers in a single unit is the one we need to give priority for any improvement. So in different countries, what they have done is they have identified vehicle occupancy is the matter, but then they have tried different ways. In US and other countries, they have allocated a lane for high occupancy vehicle. That means if a vehicle carries more than one passenger, then they have a priority. They can use that particular road, otherwise they have to go in a congested road. And some people have identified carpool system and van pool system and share riding and etc. to improve the per vehicle occupancy. But these are good initiations, but not compete with the public transport, because public transport naturally carries a large amount of people. So extreme example for a high occupancy vehicle is a public transport, both bus and the rail. Today we are going to concentrate on rail. And also let me tap on this, the concept, the people movement in the past, because even if you want to send a letter, somebody has to go and deliver by person, in person. But then later it has been transferred by the animals and birds, and then there was a official arrangement like postal service was in, and then fax machines and emails, and now all these digital medias comes in, and all these people movement has been replaced by different means of transport. So this people movement has been now replaced by the information movement. In some cases, it has been converted into a goods movement. And the image below you can see here, nowadays it's very common, particularly after Corona. Everybody is used to get the things delivered at home. Food, medicines, and all the other things. And most interestingly, the recent days, 3D printing and other stuff's also coming in. So if you want a spare parts today, you need to ship from some other countries. If it is not available, then you need to ship from that country A to country B by a chain of movement. But with this 3D printing, what you're sending is you send the information what you want, and the CAD drawing or whatever you are sending to the other end, they will put the specification and send you back, so you can print it at your country or a region, or if you have the 3D printing facilities at your door, you can print it there. But then there is a question here, or might here is, okay, with this replacement of information and replacement of 3D printing and other stuffs, is transport and logistics profession is going to be diminished? No. Why? Because whether the information send or material send, whatever it is, finally for 3D printing, you need to get the raw material. So we may be changing the different things here and there, but transport is an inevitable part of any form of transportation. Right. So that's mean what I am trying to say is freight movement become equally important as people in these days. So today we will be talk about this freight, and particularly with the rail. So we are emphasizing on the rail freight. From these slides, there's a research going on. It's an ongoing research. So it's the part. Some of the findings are already published. Some of them are yet to. So credit goes to one of the. I will let you know. So this rail freight global context is a complete picture of different countries taken into the consideration. The x-axis is the percentage of rail freight mode share, and the ton kilometer shared by rail. And you can see different regions, particularly this China, Russia, United States, India, and Australia. You can see larger countries, larger land plots. They serve better by rail. Freight rail is most profitable and 50% profit in most of the countries. And in India and Russia, freight railway cross subsidies passenger railway because passenger railway is subsidized by the freight, and greater investment because of higher GDP countries. And in Europe, again the same, almost similar case. Many government subsidies are subsidized freight railways, and majority of the railways are profitable, and greater investments are in place, and greater efficiency also. But in the case of Asia, not all the countries, but most of the countries in Asia, loss making in general, driven by the government subsidy, and very low investment, and average to very low efficiency in train services in general in Asia. Also in Latin America, other than Mexico and Brazil, this case is same. In Africa, some of the countries doesn't have railway at all, and where the railway is available, story is the same. And rail freight in Sri Lanka, up to 1979, the mode share was 32, which was an excellent compared to the other countries. But then currently it is 1%. I have somebody said 2%, around that 1 to 2% is the current freight by the Sri Lankan Railway by now. And Sri Lanka Railway is continuously making loss. I will tell about this loss. We shouldn't say it's a loss, but it's apparently a loss. Decline trends in both ton kilometer and ton transported since 72. So it's continued to decline. If you calculate the loss value per annum, it is around 2.5% per annum declining in the profit. So we need to turn this gear back on track. Factors that lead to success in rail freight. How this GMR also mentioned about it. We were one of the best mode of transport. Rail was initiated by for a purpose of freight rail transport, but then it's move on to the passengers in some time later. So in prior to the 1934, the railway was focusing on providing service to the nation and more freight oriented, and it was profit making. And that was connected with this monopoly. So the railway was almost monopoly in the Sri Lanka. And when the rest of the world is undergoing motorization, Sri Lanka still continued to have the monopoly because there was a policy towards this closed economic policy. So we were continued to operate in a success. And not only that, then the regulations, Motor Traffic Act also supported the same. There was some limitation goods carried by the lorries by that time. So that also supported the railway to perform better. And as well as the fourth pillar is why is success is the infrastructure and the equipments they had by that time. You can see here there is a small table there, good stores including the general purpose and the fertilizers and everything. There were 148, and the weighing bridges was 71, cranes were 67. It's a huge, good numbers. And also estate platforms and so on. So this infrastructure also supported that the profit-making nature of rail freight. Then in the era of rail freight dominance, this also has, we can look at, railway is profitable when freight revenue surpasses the passenger revenue. By the time passengers is very negligible, so freight was doing good. And the volume analysis also you can see here, there is a growth in the goods transport by the blue line, and the network length also is in the orange line. It's both growing, but close to 1955 and so on, close to 1930 and so on, the infrastructure increase is stagnated, but the goods demand is still growing. After that, things changing, right? After that, what happens? There's a cost increase in the cost compared to the revenue. What is happening, because the goods competitiveness from the road freight transport was very competitive, and again same reason, because the activity centers and the railway stations are not close by, so you need to transfer the goods to the station and then transfer, and then go at the destination end also you need to again handle. So that is what GMR also mentioned about the double handling effect and so on. And also it's not only the double handling, because it's a cost is involving in this access and rigorous side of the goods movement, and also the time involvement in these two processes. So it's not competitive enough for rail to do that, particularly because of the distance what we have. In a larger countries, when the length is very large, still a railway plays a competitive role. But in here we have a small issue because we are a small country. And in terms of the volume also, you can see here the green line and the blue line, the goods transport and the in ton as well, ton kilometer and both ton. Both the measurements are declining continuously. And the mode share of this railway, you can see in the last one, the rail freight share is also declining. There are dotted lines for different rice imported, flours and flour and tea exports and the cement and other goods and the fertilizers. So there are different colors dot, but overall you can see there is a decline in all. So the deterioration of rail freight in Sri Lanka, the different stakeholders' perspective, the customer's perspective is also surveyed from different people, and what the finding says is higher end-to-end time and cost. This if you take not the only train time and train distance, but if you take the end-to-end distance and time, it's very high. So distance carried by the non-rail transport is greater in a single journey, and also seamless intermodal transportation is not available. No definite promises in terms of time of delivery and so on. And cancellations are very frequent, unplanned cost, significant delays in delivery, and there are no proper mechanism to update the customer about the tracing of the goods and so on. And the main reason, inefficient frequency of service is also main reason to withdraw present customers, because they want on-time delivery. Unable to fulfill the present logistics requirement, loan link with many freight connectivities, like freight seamless transfer is not there. And from the employee side also, there are certain aspects has been studied, and problem faced by the railway management, significant delays in decision makings, and difficulty in providing flexible rates. Also outdated physical environments in both infrastructure and locomotives and so on, and dissatisfaction with the present salary structure also. So the necessity to revive the rail freight transport is summarized here. The road transport, the present issue is the road transport highly congested, as we discussed, road especially due to the large freight carrying vehicles, which occupying significant amount of the road space. And the road transport is unable to carry for the transport of bulk goods, as carrying capacity per vehicle is limited. By rail, the non-availability of the competitive and efficient arrangement and supply of transport, which ultimately leads to a higher cost and higher travel time and cause pilferage. Why then still this current issue is there, but then there are different modes of transport people may consider, but then why rail is the right choice? Because globally railway has proven cost effective. Right? Because it can carry in a single journey a large number of tons you can carry. So there's a cost effectiveness already there. And it's reliable when other parameters are fixed. It's reliable, fast, no doubt, because there is no obstacles as in the roads. Environmental friendly, because if you take the emission per tons transported by roads, and if you have many tons carried in a single units, then if you calculate the emission pollution against the ton carried, you will get only small amount. So that's mean environmental friendly. And method that minimizes the road congestion. So when the rail is become efficiency, your road is also become efficiency. So it's a win-win situation. Significance of improving rail, again from the different perspective. Sri Lanka Railway create opportunity to earn profit, increase revenue, increase its contribution to the country's economy, and also enhance the reputation as an institution. And freight forwarders, greater speed for freight, minimize logistic cost, enhance the reliability of service, and increase the safety and security of the freight. Particularly this moving of the freight transport from the freight movement from the road to rail, also you are reducing the number of accident possibilities also. Road users minimize traffic congestion, minimize accidents, and all population in Sri Lanka enable the safer environment through low carbon footprint. Some of the global perspective is put up here. So South African case and the Russian and United States, let me skip, I am not sure about the timing. And again, there are certain countries, they have tried different strategies. Not everything can be tried here, but we should learn them, and then we can see what is possible for us. In India, there are certain corridors has been dedicated for rail freight, because there are certain activity centers, large activity centers has been identified, and as you can see, there are some corridors exclusively dedicated for freight rail. And the purpose why they have provided is to enhance the capacity as existing lines are highly congested, because India has within this South Asian region, India has a very good network of rail, and passenger movement is also considerably good share of passenger movement is happening already. So therefore, they don't want to mix the same line with the passengers and the rail freight. So they have identified certain corridors as the exclusive corridor for freight. And to create a growing demand for coal transport, one of the leading freight transport in India, and to use present railway line for passenger needs, as it is also growing. And in China, Australia and South Africa, a heavy haul rail operation is happening, and mainly for the bulk cargos, more than 5,000 tons per train, or sometime 20 million tons per year in terms of the quantity. And China, again, you can see the rail with the 1.5 kilometer train length, the freight train, you can imagine how long is this, and 10,000 tons of coal and automobile drivings. And Australia, again the same, 2.4 kilometer length with a capacity of 26 ton coach. And South Africa, the 4 kilometer long trains, runs on railway line between different cities, particularly these two cities, and they have 375 wagons there. And some cities has tried different ways also, like in Mexico, you can see the image here. It's a ferry train. So it's connecting the two different lands plot by the ferry trains. So these are some of the examples. Some countries are having a single stack containerized rail transport. There are certain countries has a double stack container rail transport. But then for a small country like us, this double handling will be not very cost effective, because you need to handle the you need to bring the container to the railway yard, and then you need to transport, then you need to have a crane facility there, and then you need to transfer there, and at the end station also you need to have the same facility, and then you need to again load to another truck bed, and then go to the destination. So this distance, time and the double handling effort is not worth enough to handle even container transport here. But then I just searched some other examples there. Even neighboring country, India is doing this. You can load the container itself onto the bed, and you can take the entire unit on the train, which is called similar to the maritime transport. People call it is a ro-ro transport, roll in and roll out. In some of the Indian cities, it's becoming a very popular one, because you don't need to handle anything. You put the truck and unload the truck from the other end with the ramp facilities there. Here I have jotted down some of the modern technology used in other countries, but not necessarily everything to be tried immediately here. And probably you may know, you may have your own question. Come on, where are we, and is it possible immediately? But then we should explore this. There are current modern technology like automated smart train control and positive train control PTC systems and automatic train operations, remote control locomotives, and predictive maintenance and condition monitoring. I mean, countries has gone far away. There are some drones looking after the entire infrastructure monitoring, including the bridges and the pillars and the tracks and everything. Is the drone goes on a certain frequency and check all the is there any defects or any something to detect and alert the maintenance team. And IoT sensors detecting the real-time issue in locomotives inside the locomotive and outside the locomotives, and machine learnings and AI technology to inspect the tracks conditions and reducing manual inspections. And there are different ways of monitoring, also ultrasonic and lidar inspection and so on. Energy efficiency and sustainability, like trains are going on electric trains. We tried, we were talking about, but yet to realize that. Pananduratu Yangoda was, I think, is studied probably 10 years before, but still not coming. And then hybrids and batteries and electric locomotives. And particularly Japan and some other countries, they have gone into this hydrogen powered, more environmental friendly, cleaner alternative to the diesel, and regenerative braking systems, and a lot more to go. Digital freight management and logistics. Blockchain is when the data is coming to the picture, you need to have little more secure way of handling the data, because if you're handling the freight, the secured information system must be there, so you can use the blockchain for freight tracking. And AI powered scheduling and routing, we can optimize the fleeting and scheduling dynamically. And electronic air brake, autonomous and smart rail cars, self-diagnosing rail cars, RFID and GPS tracking. I think GMR has tried now some time back, but I don't know what is the status. But I think this GPS is not very high-end technology anymore. It's every mobile phone of ours is having GPS, so we can easily go for GPS tracking, so that we can continue to have our own system, but we can have the GPS as a metadata, additional data, so that we can trace out where the engines are. And smart infrastructure and rail yard automation, and drones for track inspections, and automated cargo handling systems. In some they are trying this, and smart rail crossings also, like again AI CCTV cameras and AI enabled cameras are used in some of the crossings, so that they will identify whether there is a person or a cyclist or a motorcyclist. All these classifications has been identified and alert the system if there is any incident about to happen. The study has identified different stakeholders and the existing facilities and the existing operation. So this is a proposed or suggestion. Prioritized freight corridor. There are certain nodes has been identified, Trincomalee Harbour, and on the Puttalam side there's another node, and Chilo is another node, and Maho is a central, and again Colombo obviously. Sorry, and also there's another line goes down to the Hambantota. There's a dotted line is suggested. That is also came out of from the some professionals' views. What they are saying is why not connecting Chilu and Margo another new line. But similarly, there can be some other nodes and links can be created. So not yet run, but maybe in future we may do the road and the rail combined network optimization can be run, and we can go for some optimized cargo handling centers can be created in future. More than the technical capabilities and infrastructure capabilities and so on, I think out of this surveying or out of this questionnaire survey done, there are certain other suggestions comes in which more important. The decision to Sri Lanka. So the global learning is every country cannot perform the similar what they have done, as all of them have fixed potential to perform. However, there is a limited flexibility within which the nation can perform. So we can take the lesson, but then not necessarily to try everything here. The ability to reach the potential is decided by the strategic initiative taken by the country level. So we need to take a decision what is best for us. As a suggestion, Sri Lanka needs to have an integrated strategy focusing the privatization, not the entire railway. I'm not mentioning privatization for everything. These are suggestions. Commercializations and recognizing to reach its limited potential. So there are three dimensions is given: commercial focus to earn profit and privatization, and separate infrastructure manufacture for management for operation. So even in bus industry and rail industry, there are different countries has tried. Infrastructure belongs to state-owned enterprise, like say railway. But then operations has been contracted to a private party to operate it. And in some countries, what they have done is infrastructure is state-owned, operation is to a company A, and the revenue management is to a company B, and then they have a mutual agreement how to manage this. So there are different policy models available, which we also can try out. There's a framework has been suggested, so not necessary to go in this line. Different people may propose different way, but then the elements has been identified. We need to have a operational focus and the business focus and the people focus as well as the technological focus. So we need to tap into these 4 different areas to have a state-owned company to perform better. So this onion model or whatever you call, the core is there are 3 core areas has been identified for improvement, and in addition we can have improvement to the rail efficiency and expands the dedicated freight railway. It can be dedicated freight line, or it can be combined with the passenger and the freight together, which we need to decide what's the best arrangement. And the regularity measures to minimize the competition between the land and the rail. It should be rather being competitive. We should compromise the land and the rail so that the connectivity has been enabled, so that the seamless transfer from land to the rail must be placed. And creation of healthy environment and supporting the integrated strategy.
I think you enlightened us in many areas, and you shifted very nicely from road transportation to rail transportation and justified why railway transportation should be improved. So 1864 we started Anguru Kaka, Watro Bibi, Kolamba Duwana Yakadeka. With that level, how far we have come. And you touch finally privatization, commercialization, and also I would add one more thing, PPPs, private-public partnerships. I will open the forum for questions. To start with, I will ask the attention of our General Manager Railway, Mr. Jayasundara. Now, in railway transportation, we are handling only 2% of the freight at the moment, slightly in between 1 to 2%. So, in terms of improvements, so there's a big demand and also a criticism from the private sector organizations that railway is not focusing enough to transport cargo. But at the beginning, in 1864, railway started to transport actually the produce from the hill country to the port. So what are the current developments that have been taken or proposed or in progress in terms of accommodating more and more industrial transportation by the railway department?
In last slide, I think when Mohammed wait for the mountain to come to him, when the mountain is not coming, he went to the mountain. I think similarly, railway is a service provider, and earlier proudly served the nation at a very high level for freight transportation. Today we are lagging there. So therefore, I think at the current stage, I am in the process of setting necessary rolling stock for the freight transportation. First, we need to give the assurance. Yes, we got the rolling stock ready for freight transportation. Currently, we got this constraint of not having sufficient reliable engines for freight transportation. That's an issue. So that's the one reason why freight forwarders not coming to railway. So I'm in the process of ensuring the availability of rolling stock necessary for the freight transportation. That's the first step. The second step is we need to listen to the industry. Even though we can go and park a freight vehicle at Jaffna or KKS, we cannot expect people to come and put their freight into our wagons. That's not how things happen. So we need to listen to the industry and understand their requirement and find out whether we can serve those needs profitably. Profitably for railway in the sense we need to make at least a minimum margin out of it. And for the freight forwarders, that should be maybe faster and more economical. So whenever we can meet that requirement of the freight forwarder, faster and economical, they will come to railway. So we need to find out where we got this competitive advantage or where the freight forwarder get a benefit out of it. So in order to achieve that, understand that situation, we need to build up a discussion with the logistic industry, freight forwarders. So definitely, just like we serve the need of this tourism, we are doing successfully, very profitably. I'll initiate a process to have the discussion with the industry and understand their requirements, and wherever we can meet their requirements profitably and serve their needs.
I'll open the session for the forum to ask questions.
Of course, but you don't use other advantages to attract the tourism. So better you talk to other agencies, the private sector, the tourism authorities, and then go for other activities to make the profit making. Then you can provide the transport and even at a loss.
Yeah, I think when we consider railway construct and maintain their tracks and also maintain stations, and in addition we got to also protect and force to provide the safety. But when you consider the price of a railway ticket, that's half the price of a bus ticket. We cannot do miracles. If government is allowing us to make equal our ticket price, we are at break even for operations. So our ability to earn is constrained by government's requirement to serve the public. That's why treasury is funding. Even though one can say, yes, financially you are making a loss, please calculate the service we are giving to the society, half the price of a bus ticket. Then at that price as a service to the society, or the economy, that will increase our service level. Other thing is, even though we are charging half the price of a bus ticket, our season ticket is 1/4 of the railway ticket price. So again, we are giving a huge benefit to the society, give it a financial value, we at break even. So even with all incompetencies, maybe unproductivity, still railway is serving the nation because give a same value as a bus passenger kilometer. We are doing a great service to the country, but not financially shown. That's because Treasury is not giving it a value. I have requested Treasury, and when we do the presentation, even last year our losses, even though some say 14 billion, actually it is 2 billion. Now other thing is the sad situation, railway is for public transportation, for the freight transportation. But people talk about land. There's a lot of land in railway. They are underneath the railway tracks, underneath the railway station buildings, and on the both sides of the railway tracks. They are linear. You cannot have real estate development at that kind of land plots. So there are some locations there we can have that real estate development. If private investors are coming, we are willing. I think more than once we have published notice in our newspapers asking for people to come. If no one came actually, that's because maybe they are not economically viable. But if you consider this Colombo Fort and Maradana section, where we got our Colombo Colombo yard, that's where do our marshalling. Even though people can see some derelict wagons and all that somewhere, and maybe some growth of these trees, actually it's been used for our purposes. Maybe 25% of it is not being used, but we are in the process of removing all this unused one and using that space for maybe having some freight transportation. So therefore I think as I mentioned earlier, you need to understand the basics. It's very easy to complain, but when you understand the current situation, you can understand railways trying to do something for the society even today. I think we are serving our country.
What I want to say is, now say about 60 or 70 years ago, our train system was much better than what it is today, as far as I can see. Because in 1950s and 60s, the train system was much better than now. The Yaldevi train used to go from here to KKS by 12:50 and come back to Colombo in the evening. But our train system at that time would have been comparable to other countries in our region. But today, we are nowhere compared to them. Now, some countries which didn't have a train system at that time, like Singapore, most of the people travel by train. Even in India, if you miss one train, another train is coming in 5 minutes. There is no question of missing a train. So, I think the people in power, this railway wouldn't have been very attractive or beneficial to the people in power, so they were not giving much attention. But with the new government, can you leapfrog or come up with some proposal where we can get our system within a reasonable time in par with the rest of the countries? Now in China, trains are going at 400, 500 kilometers per hour. But at that time, they also went at the same rate that we were traveling in 1950s. But they have, even in India, you get trains like there's a palace on wheels where when you get in the train, you are like in a palace. So that kind of things are also there. And Indian trains are also traveling much faster than our trains. So can you sort of, with the new government, they are not so interested in benefits, they might be interested in development, do something where within a reasonable time we can achieve those standards.
Government, especially our minister, is very much interested in improving public transportation and bring back people to railway and buses. We got their blessings. Definitely we can do a better job. It will take some time. For example, after this track improvement from Maho to Anuradhapura, now we got a very good condition tracks from Maho to KKS, and the trains are now traveling from Colombo to Jaffna in 5.5 hours. Maybe that is comparative to what earlier travel time. So when we improve other tracks also, we can do a better job than earlier times. The problem is our rolling stock. Some are not well maintained, the reliability fact is questionable. Other thing is a lot of our rolling stock is now outdated. So we need to have some investment. If you are going to compare with China, China leapfrogged from what they were earlier by huge investments. In comparison, I think the investments railway department is much less. If you're going to use London Railway, London Underground, usually the lowest ticket price would be £3 or maybe £2. If you get £2, that means 800 rupees per few kilometers. In our case, it's only 20 rupees. So therefore, the earning ability, even though we have to get the diesel at the same price, maybe the rolling stock at the same price, our charging cost, what we can charge is 20 rupees in comparison to 800 rupees there. In Chinese railways, heavily subsidized by the government. So in order to get it up to the level of India or even China, we need to get a huge investment from the government. So therefore, it will take some time. Definitely, I'll assure you, railway will start performing much better under the guidance of our minister and the new government policies.
My question is, we know that the railway department goes on strikes and the wages get increased sometimes at abnormal level. And you also mentioned that the prices are kept at a certain level and the railway is running at a loss. Now, financially, how are we going to overall solve this problem? Can we list it in the stock exchange or that is one question I have. I have another question also. Other countries have special tickets for tourists. 1 week unlimited travel, 2 weeks unlimited travel. And the advantages is once you buy the ticket, you don't have to check the prices. You can get in and get off at any time. So in my opinion is in some ways the railway department hasn't sort of, there are certain things the railway department could have done some time back, but the simple things which the railway department hasn't done. Okay. So anyway, what do you think about those things? The first question particularly, what's the model? What's the model to improve the finances of the railway department? Can it be listed?
Yeah, I think even though it's going to be listed, it has to make a profit. Then only investors will come. As I mentioned earlier, the price of a ticket is kept artificially low. It is not reflecting the cost involved. That's a government decision. That's a one-way government benefit the society. So therefore, even we go for that kind of private investment, then we need to increase the price. Or otherwise, government has to finance this what you call the public service obligation through the treasury funding. So I think situation will not change in current scenario. The other thing is you talk about, yeah, I think now we are going to get some electronic ticketing system through ADB funding. It's in the pipeline. When that comes, usually we can talk about that kind of innovative items. I mean the pricing. Yeah. I think within 1 year, I think that system should come. Then we can do the pricing. Also, there's some talk about whether we can have a different price for tourists. So I went to some discussion. People suggested, yeah, why not put 10,000 for foreigners when they travel by Dhammika to Badulla. I think. I think in 2012 there has been a feasibility study with ADB and JICA. It's available. Current government is interested about having this dry port. I think recently they submitted those to this planning department.
I think some congestion also might be addressed if that happens, right?
Yes. They have to get a suitable location. Then I think the container coming to now they got this elevated expressway into the port. But I think even with that, I think we can reduce the number of vehicles coming to Colombo by having such arrangement at Vayangado, some other place. They need to do some feasibility study to make sure that when they establish dry port, the people will come there.
And also, Mr. Jayasundara, are you expecting the demand to go up with the development in Hambantota port also happening? Will there be any connectivity which you all may look at in terms of connecting the transshipment volumes? I mean, are you all forcing an increase in the demand?
Currently, we got tracks only up to Beliatta. There is a phase 2 where they want to extend that railway line from Beliatta to Hambantota harbour. The estimated cost is about 550 million as per last estimate made by these some experts. So therefore, that's an investment of $500 million. So before we do that investment, we need to make sure there would be demand for where the transshipment going to go from Hambantota Harbour to Colombo Harbour. Then we need to ensure the connectivity within Colombo Harbour. The train should go to at least to the not right up to the terminal. We need to go to the place where they are stacked those containers before they have been loaded to the ships. So therefore, first we need to understand the demand. I don't know whether there's sufficient demand for transshipment currently, but in future, if there's going to be a demand, definitely we can plan and have that railway track ready when demand comes. But initially, we need to see this demand.
Yeah, I'm Sanat Divakara. My question is to Dr. Sivakumar. You said that private vehicle is now exponentially increasing. So with this discussion, no way with railway. So what sort of remedy that you will be going to take to turn it now?
Thank you. I think for some years, almost a decade, we are talking about improving public transport to turn this increment in the private vehicle motorization. Almost all the governments in their political statements, they have emphasized on public transport improvement, but actually not happened. So everybody's hope this time it will happen. So there are certain policy level decisions are there, like to improve both rails and buses to improve. While we are improving, there must be some countermeasures to the private vehicles also. One is by our taxations, we didn't reduce the number of vehicles coming into the country. Whatever the 300% tax in the past what we had, but still the number of vehicles are growing, particularly the smaller vehicles. So more than the import tax, I think it's time for us to go for a user tax. Whenever you are trying to use the vehicle on the road, you must have got to pay some fee for the road usage. That is the only way we can control the number of vehicles happening on the road. In addition to that, parking. We built a road with billions of money, that is the public money, and then we give parking free, almost free of charge. 50 rupees is nothing. And even in the heart core of the city, still we have I think is per hour 100 rupees or something. It's negligible. So almost like we are telling, or we are giving the message, owning a car is free of charge for after you own the car, the lifetime you are free of charge, you can use. Other than the fuel charge what you are paying. And we are a small country which we don't have fossil fuel drone here. It's all imported. And we are not car manufacturing country. We are importing cars. So we are going in a wrong track. Definitely we need to control the number of vehicle usage in this country. So there must be a policy decisions to control that. And couple of other things would like to, if Professor Gunaruwan is here, he would have shouted definitely on the same line. So I would like to take the same chance. Some of the question came here because even I promised in my presentation, but I forgot to tell. Though we say that railway is loss making, but actually if you look at the whole picture of it, we are building road. RDA is building road. The national roads A class and AB is in charge of RDA, and RDA is building road. And once the road is open, we are free to use, almost free to use, other than the expressways. That is also very nominal fee, almost free of charge to use. But then in the case of railway infrastructure, nobody is building a railway for Sri Lanka Railway. Railway Department has to build the track, maintain the track, build the bridge, signaling, locomotive maintenance, everything is done by the Sri Lanka Railway. So this everything is cost if you calculate, and if you set apart the infrastructure, building an infrastructure, that means the tracks, and then building the signals and building the railway tracks maintenance and so on. If you take, let's say somebody is taking care, then if you take the Sri Lanka Railway as an operating the railway, I think it's a profit-making organization. That's how I feel. I learned from Professor Gunaruwan. That's how we need to take this story. So who will pay that? Definitely, if the government is paying for road construction, why not for track construction? So part of so far what the allocation has been given to the transport sector, and 75 or 80% of the percentage went to the road construction. And only I think 15% or something has gone to the railway. So if we change the gear, at least 50-50, or at least some increment, more pumping money to the public transport, definitely what you all ask, whether it will happen or not, will happen.
Okay, thank you so much. Now it's the time to appreciate our two resource persons. I would request the two resource persons to be in front, and I would request the President, Treasurer, the President-elect to give away the token of appreciation.
We have just concluded a seminar on a very important and a pertinent topic, namely driving industrial transportation of Sri Lanka through improved railway systems, organized by the Supply Chain, Transport and Logistics Committee of the Organization of Professional Associations of Sri Lanka. I am sure that this seminar will contribute to the discourse on improving our logistics sector and driving the development of the country's economy. So I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to Mr. Dhammika Jayasundara, General Manager of the Sri Lanka Railway Department, and Engineer Dr. T. Sivakumar, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Engineering, University of Moratuwa, for being our expert speakers today. We have all benefited greatly from your expertise and knowledge. Thank you, sir. I thank all the members and the Chairman, Mr. I.G. Perera, of the Supply Chain, Transport and Logistics Committee of OPA, for moderating and organizing this seminar. I also would like to express my gratitude to President Mr. Sujiwala Dahanayaka, President-elect Mr. Jayanta Gallaheva, for their leadership and support. I also thank the Centre Director and staff of OPA for all the assistance provided. Finally, I thank the audience for your active participation. Thank you and good night.